Morning, everybody. My name's Carol White. I'm UK Director of Recruitment for WSP Parsons Brinckerhoff in the UK. And my colleague Mel Clark, who looks after and manages all of our early career professional recruitment. So today we've been asked to talk about candidate experience. And I think the first thing to say is that we don't have all the answers. So it's an ongoing journey. It's something that we're constantly looking at and refreshing. And so we just wanted to share with you today what we actually do. But I think the first thing is, you're probably all asking, who is WSP Parsons Brinckerhoff? So we are a global engineering consultancy. So we don't actually build anything. Our job is to design and plan, and our only asset are our people. Currently, globally, that's 35,000 employees. And we work across the built and natural environment. And so just to give you some examples of our projects, 2 of the Peace Towers at Ground Zero, the new Doha International Airport, and closer to home, the Shard of Glass in London. So just a little bit about our market conditions around candidates. And I think with the exception of early career professionals and perhaps some of our support services roles, we do not have an active market. So we're recruiting engineers. It's a skill short market, and it's not an active market. All of our recruitment is talking to passive candidates. And just a scale of recruitment, as a business since 2012, which is when we came out of recession, we've gone back into acquisition mode, but we've also gone back into organic growth. So last year, we recruited 1,200 people. About 200 of those were graduates, and about 50 of those were apprentices. And this year, probably about the same. With Brexit next year, because we work in the property market, it has slowed down a little bit, and so perhaps we'll be looking more around the 1,000 mark. But we won't be scaling back on graduates, and with the apprentice levy, obviously, we are rethinking how that works with our programs. Because we work in a skill-short market, we've had to change our approach, and we've turned it on its head. And instead of looking what our motivators and drivers are in terms of the recruitment process, we have looked to the candidate and to see what their motivators and drivers are. And look at that as a customer service experience. So we have 3 segments, and we have done quite a lot of research around this segmentation. The early careers professionals piece, which Mel is going to talk about it in length, and our mid-range hires, and then our director level senior hires. And really looked at what's important to them to make it a very positive experience, and we're constantly looking at that. So we, as a result of this customer service approach, looked at a candidate pledge. And these are sort of best practice principles, customer service principles that we apply to the whole of the recruitment process as it's stipulated there, and it's 6 pillars, and it culminates in new hire feedback. And this is part of the recruitment process. It's not a HR function, it is a recruitment process. So basically, after 3 months of employment, we speak to every single new hire, and that tends to be the recruiter that has brought them into the business. And we ask them about the experience during the recruitment process and how that worked for them, but more importantly, how it's been in their first 3 months. So the dream that we sold them at recruitment, at the recruitment stage, we're checking it hasn't turned into a nightmare, and to make sure that if there are any issues or wrinkles that need to be ironed out, we do that at that stage. And we do find that that obviously helps with retention. The first 3 months are really important for new hires, regardless of where they sit in that market segmentation. So I'll pass on to Mel now, who will talk to you about early career professionals, and then I'll take back over and go through the other 2 market segments at the end of the time.
Thank you. Morning, everybody. So one of the first things that we asked ourselves when we were thinking about early career professionals in this candidate experience was about who we're recruiting. Fortunately, Mark's warmed you up this morning talking a little bit about millennials. And that was the answer to that question for us. It was about millennials. So we did some research into what was important to them. And what we found along the way was actually that they do have a bit of a bad reputation. So as Mark said, there was the one candidate that left quite quickly there. If you type millennials are into Google, you get lots of suggested search results. One of the top ones is millennials are lazy, entitled narcissists. So we couldn't wait to get started, actually, finding a great candidate experience for these people. As Mark said, what that did actually made us feel like we had a challenge on our hands through the recruitment process for this population of people. They're very much known as the "it's all about me" generation. But what was really important to us was that as well as that bad reputation, these are the people that are going to be the future talent and leaders in our business. So we have to recruit them, we don't have a choice. And actually, in engineering, that's even more important. There are a number of infrastructure projects that are important to the UK over the next few years and going into the future, and we have to make sure that we're growing our own within engineering. Otherwise, that skills gap that we've got now is only going to get bigger. So these are really, really important people to us, and we absolutely have to think about where we go and how we engage with them. So we picked out 2 bits of the research that we could focus on, and it was only our research. You can pay lots of external organisations lots of money to do research for you, but this was just our research, asking our graduates and finding out about some of that research that's already been done. So the 2 things we focused on for this generation were that, first of all, they're engaging with technology at an even earlier age than ever before. The first generation to learn things from childhood and to use that to be connected with the world and to connect with people around them. And also they want to make a difference. So the good thing about them making a difference for us is that that's great because we work in engineering, and as an engineering career, you've got the option to change the built and natural environment around you. You can make people's lives easier, you can create amazing buildings like the Shard. So that side of it was quite easy for us. We just had to make sure we were embedding that in all of the content that we put out to that market. The technology side was a little bit more challenging, and Mark mentioned social media. The good news is we're not trying to recruit through social media, otherwise this whole slide would have been pointless. But what we are doing is making sure that the stories that those millennials want to hear about what it's like to work for us and what we are like as a business are there. But also on the recruitment side, we're making sure that if they're sat on their tablet or mobile device at home at 11:30 at night when I'm tucked up in bed ready for work the next day, that they can go and find that content about our graduate programme and about all of the things that are important to them. What we also did was refresh that content as well, so we can have a look at actually what are they interested in and what do they want to see. So this year we found that actually talking heads videos of graduates in our businesses saying how great it is to be a graduate on our graduate programme, everybody has them, and that's no longer interesting because they're all the same. So we've updated our graduate video. Hopefully I'm going to show you a short snippet of the new one, if this works. So what I'll do is tell you a little bit about that video. It's actually not a talking heads video. It's not graduates saying how great it is at our business. It's actually some footage of graduates out on projects on site, and it's showing some of the projects that they've worked on. Very short introductory video. It's 44 seconds. What we have found is that generally if you're putting content out, the maximum time you've got for a grad's attention span is about 3 minutes. So whatever you are putting out there, make sure it lasts less than that, because after that, they're bored, just like Oliver was bored of his job. So that was part of engaging with our marketing and communications team and working with them really closely, and Carol will touch in a bit more detail on that as we go on. But this was about making sure that we were putting out the right content for that market so that when they were asking questions about our opportunities and about the progression and the growth and the development, that they could access that. So for them, in terms of their experience of looking for a role and finding the information, they could do that easily. And we were putting that attraction campaign together and putting it out at the right time through engaging with other teams in the business. The other thing we promised you in our bullet points was about us doing something different. So everybody likes chocolate, or most people like chocolate. And it's also quite nice if when you receive that chocolate, it tells you to take a break as well. So one of the things we do as part of our onboarding is that around exam season time, we put together top exam tips from people in the business, from senior leaders through to recent graduates. And we send that out to all of our graduates, along with a Kit Kat, telling them to take a break, have a rest from your exam revision, take a few minutes to think about something else. And that goes down really, really well because they're not expecting it, it's thoughtful, it's the right timing for them. And in fact, some of them, we have a Facebook group for graduates that have accepted roles, so we're not doing the social media segregation. And a lot of them will receive it in the post in the morning, take a photograph of it, post it to the Facebook group and say how great it is. So that's just our one way of doing something a little bit different. We're constantly telling our candidates that they need to stand out in the process, but actually in a market like engineering, we as recruiters need to stand out in the process, and this is our way of doing that. I'd also add that little things in candidate experience can make a really big difference. So we do things like providing quite a lot of support for travel arrangements for graduates travelling to assessment centres or interviews with us. And also for those that have never been in the industry, don't really know what the teams that they'll be meeting do, don't know who they're going to be meeting. We don't send them a standard, your interview is on this day, at this time, with this person. We send them lots of information about that team, about the person's story with the business, about their role, so that if they choose to go and look at that before their interview, great, because they're going to come across a lot better, but it's helping them along the way. And as a wider team, we're trying to help them also by sharing some of our knowledge. So recently we each, and Katie and Laura are in the room today as well, and mine's up there, we each posted a blog about the process around our graduate recruitment. So the do's and don'ts of applying for our programme, how to get through our video interviews, how to research a business. So we are recruiters, and sometimes I think we see our job as viewing a CV, finding out if that candidate's any good, arranging an interview, but actually for us now, it's much more than that. And we know it's working. So what we've done in terms of attraction and onboarding, the little surprises, the nice extra touches, are making a difference. So if we take the 2015 graduate period, the first week of applications last year, to the 2016 first week of applications, so we're talking this is data from only a few weeks ago, our application numbers are up 476% through doing this, through working with marketing and communication and getting that content to the market. Also, we find that when graduates accept a role, it might be 9 months until they start, maybe more, and so they drop out of the process quite regularly. So what we did with our Keep in Touch programme was we've gone back and had a look at the numbers of people withdrawing as well. So in our 2013-14 graduate intake, we recruited less than 100 graduates, and 17 of those dropped out post-offer. In the last year, so through the 2016 graduate recruitment, we recruited, as Carol said, 200 graduates, and we had just 3 people drop out of that process. So we've reduced that number right down to 1% of people leaving the process through giving them that great experience. So hopefully there's some bits in there that you can take from what we've done. My advice in summary would be take your time to do your research, either do that yourself or pay somebody else to do it. Tailor your attraction and make sure that you keep that all the way through to your onboarding. Work with other business departments that can help you. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a big marketing and communications team. We're really lucky to have that. But that could be, if you're recruiting graduates, you could just go and ask the graduates that you already have about what they're expecting and what they want to see. Do something different. Doesn't have to be a Kit Kat. I'd really like it if it wasn't a Kit Kat, actually, but anything else. And also, remember that little things in that process really can make a big difference. And I think that applies at all levels, but particularly early career professionals.
Thank you. So just to go to our next market segmentation, our experienced hires, so it's our mid-range hires. These are the most difficult for us in terms of looking to extract them from our competitors, trying to find that edge, whether it be a project or whether it be development for them. Why would they move from where they are to us? And so the candidate experience is really important in making sure that they not only engage with us and come and talk to us, but actually we get them over the line as well. So as I've already mentioned, this is a completely passive market. So if candidates do apply to us through our careers website or LinkedIn jobs or whatever it might be, it's because we've warmed that audience up prior to that happening. And it does often feel like a needle in a haystack. I've got quite a few of my team here who will be testament to that in terms of trying to find those candidates. So what kind of things do we do in order to engage with that passive market and to interest them in coming to talk to us? And we do a lot of work through our internal and external networks. And the internal networks basically is everyone that works for us. I often say to our CEO that if we all got together and shared our contacts, then we would be able to recruit every person that we need, and we would never have to do anything else externally. Nice thought, but really difficult to translate into action. But what we do is sit down with recruiting managers, look through their LinkedIn contacts, talk to them about people that they've met at conferences, dinners, social events around the business community, people that they've met that have really inspired and interested them. And then we will share those contacts out, and either line managers will make contact to talk to them about the business and our projects, or we will do that. But that's exactly what we do. We talk about strategy, business, projects. We don't talk about vacancies, because that's really quite insulting to a passive market who isn't looking or don't believe that they're looking for another opportunity. It's our job to persuade them that they are. And in terms of the external networks, then that really is market mapping, looking at addressable markets, talking to people about our projects and our growth strategy and our business, and really fostering a relationship with them to the point where when they're ready to make a move, they often then come to us and say, we'd like to talk to you about where we go next. And so it's continuing to engage that pipeline through various channels, and that can be as informal as a coffee and a chat, through to sharing thought leadership pieces with them, new contract wins with them, movers and shakers that might have joined the business. And just recently, a digital magazine that we use for recruitment purposes only, a bit like our internal digital magazine, but with stories that we can share with the external market. And it just means that they're not constantly being telephoned by us. They are getting different ways of engaging with us and getting information about our business. And I've stolen the sales CRM word and called it now candidate relationship management. And that really is what it is. And we need to remember it's often a long game, that we don't hire people immediately. I'll talk to you about a candidate that in a little while that took me 2 years to get on board. But it is a much longer process. Just sticking with that market segmentation, so we've talked about social media, but also mobile optimization, and this is a big piece of work we've done in response to candidate feedback, which is that we all know that candidates of all levels now want to research a business, look at our vacancies, meet our people virtually through their smartphones or tablets. And so it was really important that we made sure that all of that access was mobile optimized. And then we stopped around 2012 the transactional recruitment piece and went to recruitment marketing and remembered our roots. Most of my team are from a recruitment consultancy background, so just to remember how that works. And that was working really closely with the marketing team and getting them to understand that to recruit 1,200 people is a small acquisition, actually, and if we were going to do that as an acquisition, they would be very, very keen to work with the business. So they should actually be working with us to help us with that acquisition of those people. And we have a recruitment calendar now, which is broken into those market segmentations to meet the demands of that particular population. So the mid-range hire piece will be anything from events that we're holding around the company, either in market specialisms such as aviation or rail or high-rise buildings or the health sector, because we work across many, many sectors, and it's appealing to those specialists and sharing with them not just what we're doing as a business, but what kind of recruitment we're looking at and some of our stories and some of our people's stories. And we've had to be a bit creative as well. So we've looked further afield. We've looked into Australia, the USA and Canada at an expat campaign, which we did last year called Come Home. And basically that was an embedded video through LinkedIn, reaching out to expats in those countries. And the embedded video, again, as Mel said, 2 minutes only, and it was showcasing people that had returned from those locations, come back into WSP, Parsons Brinckerhoff in the UK, and the kind of experiences they were having in terms of the work that they were doing. That yielded, it's a very slow burn, that particular piece of work. So we brought back about 10 people since we started that project, and we've probably got 60 in pipeline who are looking to come back to the UK, but not quite yet, and so we need to continue talking to them, or they're persuading wives and husbands to do that. And of course, don't forget alumni. So we have regretted leavers in our business, so people do move on for other projects, for more money, for development, whatever it might be. And it's really just staying in touch with them to let them know what's going on. And again, we have a digital magazine that we send out to all of our regretted leavers. It has stories about people that they will know, about new projects, about teams that they will know, and we showcase people in there as well that have come back to us. So we recently had a story around one of our senior individuals who has come back to the business twice through acquisition, so not through his own choice, and then once through his own choice recently. And he's probably my biggest cost per hire through that acquisition stage. And we also are able to demonstrate multiple careers, and Mel is an example of that. Mel started in our HR shared service function, so in a generalist role, moved into a specialist learning and development role, and I'm very lucky to have her come into my team for the last 18 months, 2 years, in recruiting graduates, apprentices, and schools engagement programs. And then the final segmentation is our senior leaders, so directors of the business. Truly, these are often our clients. So we need to be very careful that the experience is confidential, that it's exclusive, and that it's individual to that person. And we really are looking at that red carpet experience and how that feels. So we do video interviews for our graduates. We would not dream of doing anything like that for our mid-range hires or senior hires. It's not an interview, it's a conversation. It's often held off-site because they don't want to be seen in our offices. They know lots of our people, don't want to be compromised. We need to have a balance on the process from forward-moving momentum to get these people on board, but also giving them time for consideration. It's a big career decision that they're making. And it can take some time, so hence my reference to a gentleman that I've just managed to get into the business, started talking to him about 2 years ago, continued that engagement process through all of the channels that I've mentioned, and managed to eventually snag him and get him into the business. And so that leads on to that, drawing people into the business and engaging with them and making sure that shares with them not just what we do, but what we're like and what it's like to work for us. And just a recent candidate comment to me, which I was really pleased with, especially since we didn't hire this individual. And her view was that it was like coming home and more. And I have stayed in touch with her, hoping to bring her into the business when the time's right for us. She was actually too big for the role that I was looking at, and so we share a coffee, a glass of wine, whatever it might be, in order to make sure she stays and remains engaged with us. So that's sort of just us sharing with you the very basics of our candidate experience. It's an ongoing journey. We keep looking at how we do things and how we can do things better. If you do have any questions before we move into the roundtable discussion, please do feel free to ask.